when you come to racing and you think F1 is superior, and you come in, I know everything. No, you don't know everything because it's different, but it's not better or worse. It's just different,
Yeah.
and you need to learn the difference and then try to introduce something you know from somewhere else to make it better. And that is what you need to stay calm and do.
You became the first American constructor in 30 years. You scored points on your debut. What was the feeling? Was it validation for writing this business plan on your kitchen table and going, shit, we made it? Like how did you feel in that?
But when we did it, you didn't feel anything. It was just like, it was very strange. And I just realized a few years later what we achieved, the team achieved. When you do it, you're too much in the detail, because we were just, we were the smallest team. We were the team with the smallest budget. We were the newest team. Nobody could care about us, and you just achieved this. So what you want to do to make sure that the next race, which was just around the corner, we got ready. So we didn't enjoy it at all, We enjoyed it, but we didn't celebrate it. That's maybe the right word. We just kept on going racing. And a few years later, actually realized we should have celebrated this a little bit more than we did, because for us, it was just like, yeah, we did it now, but wow, we have to do the next one now,
Well, you talk to a lot of competitive people and that's the mindset, I think, is that everyone's like, I should go back and enjoy it more. But in the moment, you don't think to because you're on to the next moment.
You're on the next one, you're always running,
Yeah. To get to this point, everyone knows your personality. Like I saw Drive to Survive, loved you in that whole, obviously in the paddock, but then also in that show. I think it was amazing to be able to see the personalities. But what I find most profound is that you started even in the Haas space by writing a business plan at your kitchen table. What was the vision that you had back in that day? What were you saying at that point where you're like, I'm going to start this team?
But what I was seeing, there was a big interest in F1 teams because it was a moment of, it was not so good, 2009, the financial crisis, everybody struggled. And I said, it is a good time to start something new. When there is a challenge, there is opportunity. And that's what I always see, opportunity with something is coming. And I said, obviously at the time, it was not a business which actually could make a lot of money. But, I needed to find somebody who wanted to go racing and had enough financial means to do it, because it takes a lot. And at the time, the teams were worth nothing, but also believes in that the sport will grow, and then obviously we entered the sport and Liberty Media bought the sport and made it what it is now. Now all the teams are worth billions. Mercedes was valued at 6 billion, or not only valued, Toto Wolff sold a stake of his team with the valuation of 6 billion.
And McLaren too was
exactly. Yeah. It was very high up.
I think it was
around 5. Yeah,
close enough.
Exactly, 1 billion more or less. What is
Whatever.
that? Nothing. It's like
one of Toto's jets.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a very good business now.
Modern post Drive to Survive Formula One is the talk of the town. But 15 years ago, when Guenther was pitching for a new team, the sport's popularity and business looked dramatically different. I'll tell you what I want, but I really want. Albeit still glitzy and glamorous. For starters, team valuations back in 2012 were a whole lot smaller than the sky-high numbers of today. In fact, the Mercedes of today is worth more than the average NBA team. But it's not all about the cold hard cash. Remember, Liberty Media didn't take over Formula One until 2016. It was under their watch that the average race viewership in the US, which is now a priority market, has nearly tripled. And since Liberty Media hadn't yet entered the sport, social media as we know it simply wasn't a thing in the paddock. Take Instagram. F1 didn't even have an account until 2015. And now, it's larger than the NFL. Guenther wasn't just building a team, he was betting it all on a sport that was primed to explode. Back at that time, when it was the financial crisis and it wasn't as good of a business, what made you think that you'd be able to succeed at it, where others had come and gone? What gave you that confidence?
Because I know the sport. It sounds arrogant how I say it, but I got the inspiration out of US F1. And I saw the idea was good, but the guys didn't know how to do it. They were good people. I'm not trying to critique them, but they didn't know F1. And I could see that. But I knew F1, and I knew the people in F1. And you cannot know everything yourself, but as long as you know somebody who knows, that is the key, And I always knew a lot of people. I still know a lot of people I can go to, I didn't try to find somebody to tell them, yeah, if you invest here, you will make money the first year. I say, if you want to invest and have an F1 team, I can make it happen with this plan. And this is what you need to contribute to make it happen. I put the rest of it in.
What was the most challenging part about that, getting all these stakeholders together? What for you was the hardest part of that?
I think the most difficult part, the most difficult part was to get Bernie Ecclestone on board to believe in it, because there were so many people trying to start a team, and somehow for him it was like not another one which wants to start a team, and just one team failed, a few were struggling. I don't want these people around me, and Bernie was quite direct,
Yeah.
and I had to convince him that it was actually a solid go at it, and it ended up to be the most solid of all of it, because the only team which was left from that era which was new, so to convince him was the most difficult one. But I without the help, again, as I say, of friends like Niki Lauda and Stefano, Bernie wouldn't have said yes to me. Because
what was the thing that made it click for him? Like, when was the moment when that clicked? Was it those guys?
It was the moment when Niki said, if Guenther does it, will be all right. Yeah, Stefan said it was all right. The FIA at the time, Jean Todt was the president. He knew me from the Red Bull days. He believed that I can do it, because it was more a belief if he can do it or not. And that is when he saw that there is enough money which Gene Haas put in, and that I can do it. That what made a click. But without the help of Niki, Stefano, and Jean Todt, Bernie would not have agreed to it. And another guy which supported me a lot was Charlie Whiting, the technical director at the time of FIA, which unfortunately passed away a few years ago.
You're coached by Niki Lauda. You work with Christian, you work with Adrian, I mean, a million other people in the paddock. Like, what's one trait that you and other successful people in the space really share that sets you apart? Like, what got you to the level that you've been at?
I think it's just like the I want to do this, the drive. That's what you need. The persistence. Because you never, because when you see it from outside, you think this is all moving. No, it's not moving on its own. You need to push everything. You need to keep on telling people what you want. You need to keep on pushing. I think that is the successful people, especially in F1. They never. It's relentless. You need to keep on just driving everything.
And especially in a sport where there's only one winner who wins a race, but people are talking about midfield, backfield, backmarker teams, and you're looking to find ways to champion getting 15th place in different races. Like, how do you stay motivated? How do you keep people motivated? How do you keep people pushing when you're on the road so much, you're away from family all the time?
It's not easy, but how you do it is like you need to tell people what you want to achieve, realistic achievements, and working towards it and trying to achieve this, the goals you set yourself. This was one of the things. I was not good anymore myself, because I wanted to achieve a lot more, and to keep on people doing it, you need to give them goals. If you're behind of your goals, you need to explain them why you're behind and what you're doing not to be behind forever.
Give them that hope, in a way.
Hope, don't give them hope. Give them realistic goals, because hope, you get in the church.
Fair enough, not in the paddock.
Yeah, not in the paddock. The paddock is hard work, not hope.
If there's one thing we learned from Guenther, it's that he's never been one to sit around and wait for orders. Before they were in competing pit boxes, he and Christian Horner actually fought for the same F1 team. But the arrival of Adrian Newey signaled to Guenther that the organization had become too bureaucratic. His move? Pack his bags and head to the States. Red Bull didn't just want to race in NASCAR, they wanted to dominate it. And lucky for them, Guenther was willing to move to North Carolina to turn Red Bull's American dream and his own into a reality. Before that Haas moment, you were at Red Bull, you had worked with Christian Horner, Adrian Newey came in, and you had said that the team became crowded. Politics is obviously something that comes into play with business in any case as everything grows. Is there any part that, as you look back on that thinks like, I should have stayed to finish the job, or was that the right time and place to leave, come to the States and work in NASCAR and try something different?
No, for me, it worked out perfectly. It became crowded, and for me, now looking back, that was my lucky moment when I left, because it opened for me the door to the States. Because before I always wanted to live in the States when I was younger, but never could, because you need a work visa, you need to do something, and you cannot get that. And it opened that avenue for me. And once I was here, now you cannot get rid of me anymore, So first of all, I opened my own company, which is a composite company. Now we've got 300 people, which is pretty successful company. And then he gave me the opportunity to start an F1 team, which if I would have done the same in Europe, I wouldn't have succeeded, because I wouldn't have found an investor. And if I would have tried out of Europe to find an American investor, I don't think he would have done with me because, it's too far away. It's too far apart the worlds. And I needed to learn the American culture to find somebody to speak the same language. Because if I speak European culture to an American businessman, he's not going to do business with me. I need to, and for me, it was the best thing happened in my life to leave Red Bull.
When you left at the time and you came, was your thinking, I'm going to go back? Or was your thinking, there's so much opportunity even just to learn from NASCAR, and you weren't even thinking about the future? Like, where was your mindset at that time?
I tell you exactly what I said to my wife. I would like to live in America. We go and make the experience. If we like it, and if it works, we stay there. If it doesn't work, we come back. As simple as this. Keep it simple, There was not like, what do I do in 5 years? Let's do it. Let's try it. If it doesn't work, go and do something different. There's always something you can do in life.
What did you bring from the F1 side and inject in the US racing culture?
I think in NASCAR installed the processes, the engineering side of it. And now all the NASCAR teams do it. But 20 years ago when I came here, it was a much roguer sport. It was run by crew chiefs, by mechanics. Now it's engineering led. And I think Red Bull was the first team to introduce this system. We had to do it carefully because it was a culture shock, you know. But you needed to explain people that this will make you better. And then they appreciate it, not just going in to tell them this is what we are doing.
Yeah, you can't say you're wrong.
Correct. You cannot say you're wrong. You can say you're right, but we could do this better. Yeah.
You're totally right. It's just, this is the other way to do it.
Exactly. Just do it complete different.
Guenther spent 2 years, from 2006 to 2008, building Team Red Bull's NASCAR operation as technical director. But when he left the team, he didn't head back to Europe. Instead, he stayed in North Carolina to launch a company that would give him one thing most F1 managers lack: a literal foundation in American business. So, by the time he sat down with Gene Haas years later, Guenther wasn't just a technical guy. His experience across disciplines allowed him to pitch Gene a revolutionary idea with legs: an American F1 team with its roots in NASCAR country. On the Fiberworks composites, like why start that? Why not go back into racing in a different capacity?
I always wanted to have my own business in life, Never had the time because I always had a job, and at the time it was like either I do it now or I'm getting too old, And I saw an opportunity also there because I saw a lot of opportunities for other people. And at some stage you say, I need to find my own opportunity because motorsport is quite brutal, It's a very small industry. And when you are out, you can get back in, but at some stage you are too old to get back in. Younger people will replace you, So you need to make your own future. And I didn't want to be always just like hoping to get a job, because that doesn't work. You need to be realistic.
And you got to go to church for that.
Yeah, exactly. I go to church to hope to hope for something. So, I saw the opportunity when I was in NASCAR. There was composites. Composites started in the United States, but then it went away from the United States because England got to be the leader because F1 pushed it, and I had the knowledge. I wasn't an expert in composite, but I had good knowledge of it. So this is an opportunity to build something up again for the future here. And I think it was a right call at the time, to do it. And what it does, it gives you security for yourself. Because if there is nothing in racing what you like, at least you've got your own company to fall back on.
What was the best part about it that you took away? Was it speaking the American business culture? Was it meeting all the people?
Learning about the American culture and to live it, not only reading it in a book, to live the American culture. Because I grew up in northern Italy, but I speak German at home, so I know the German culture very well and the Italian one, which is a big advantage if you understand the culture. I lived in the UK for 10 years. I understand the English, but then we always think because we are Westerner, we have got all the same culture. No, American culture is again different. And the only way for me to make good business is if you know the culture of who we are dealing with. An American doesn't have to adapt to my culture. I have to adapt to his culture.
Right.
For example, in Europe, Italians which try to do dealings with Germans, they struggle. Because it's not that they don't want the same, just the approach is different because it's a different culture. But if you know them both, you find a way around it because you understand what your counterpart does. The same here now in the States. I understand exactly when people speak, why they speak like this and what they want to achieve.
By the time Guenther's tenure at Haas came to an end in early 2024, he had become the most recognizable face in the paddock. But to simply pass him off as a former team principal misses the bigger picture. This is a man who was also lit on fire in rally, built an American manufacturing company from scratch, and helped bring Red Bull to NASCAR. His face was plastered on shirts and podcasts. He even took over a MotoGP team. So when it came time to tell his story, not once, but twice, it was no surprise that his books were bestsellers with sold-out live shows. Because for Guenther, leaving Haas didn't mean leaving motorsports. He's sure as hell still living it. How does it feel going from like the F1 paddock and doing all of that to 87 shows that you're now on? James was saying it's the #1 best-selling Formula One book, your first one, period. Like, how does that feel?
Good.
Okay.
I know it feels good, but it's one of these things because you cannot force these things. People actually want this stuff, because you can try to market it, but in the end, if people don't want it, you market and then it falls off, but it doesn't fall off because people like it, and it's pretty cool to do these things, after you think you've done F1 a long time, and it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do next, and this just came up and is showing good success, and it's enjoyable.
When you were stepping away from F1, like, was this all part of your plan to keep putting your hand in the different opportunities? Like, is that just your nature to always go, go, go? And how does it feel to be able to say you've done the 87 shows, like the book's been so big, all these things that you've been involved in?
It's a very strange thing. I always want to do something. I cannot sit still. I've got this itch to do something. My brain keeps on always working. I get up in the morning and I'm already, what do I need to do, what I can do, what I have to do. Otherwise, I get bored very quickly. Having these things and they work out and some don't work out. But I always say there is a moment you're not good enough, but I can live with that because then I go and do the next one and it will be good again. I don't give up, because something didn't work out. But some of these moments came without, I would say, I got lucky. I didn't want to write a book to start off with. I had no interest. It wasn't me trying to find somebody to write a book with. I was approached to write a book. I said, no, I don't want to do a book. And then I was convinced because the people told me it's actually a cool thing to do. All right, let's do something cool. Let's try it. But I had no guarantee that it will be successful. But I can live. If they would have sold only 2 books, I wouldn't be depressed or anything.
You tried.
Yeah, I tried. I did my best. It wasn't good enough. That's life. That's life. I mean, you cannot be always successful and you have to live with that. There's always a moment where you don't succeed or where you lose a deal or something, But just get up again and do the next thing. I mean, it's pretty easy for me. I mean, I'm not like, obviously, I'm not happy if something fails. By no means I'm happy about failure. But it doesn't get me down, It doesn't get. It's the same when you have got a race weekend. As I always say, the 2 worst moments for me in racing were when 2 cars go out in Q1. I mean, that Saturday night is like, I mean, you don't want to come out of the office. You just want to sit there until everything is dark and nobody sees you, And on race day, when you don't finish in the points, it's the same thing. I mean, it's just like, I don't want to be there. But what you have to do on Monday to get back and work to make it happen next time. You need to be strong enough to do that. And if you're not strong enough to do that, you shouldn't be a team principal of F1.
It's a great mindset. I just want to ask, if you could go back and give yourself advice when you were writing that whole business plan before you launched Haas and you ended up in this seat as an author, as an analyst, all these things, like, would there be any piece of advice you'd give yourself?
It's obviously with hindsight now it's easy to say because we have got that advantage. But, would I try to put in that I want a piece of the team? Yes, I would put that one in. But at the time I didn't want it because I didn't have the money to invest in it, So I needed to be clear about that one. So I cannot demand something. But if I would have known that the teams would be worth, within 5 years, billions of dollars, obviously, you would make yourself more valuable,
I mean, you got a lot out of it, so it's been great to see.
I cannot complain. Again, as you say, I got a lot out of it, and I cannot complain.
No.
So I'm happy, I'm happy. I have no regret.
We love to see it. Thank you for the time. It's been great.
Thanks for having me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to check out our full playlist and to subscribe to the channel for more racing content just like it. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.